Welcome to the Invincible Innovation Show, the podcast for changemakers. Each week, I talk to the most fascinating entrepreneurs and innovation leaders about innovation, strategy, and design. Hey everyone, very happy to see you with us. Welcome to Invincible Innovation Live, a show about the future of people with tech. I'm Adima Zolkario, innovation and value creation expert. I'll be your host, and today I'm very, very proud to have me, Amir Shevat.
Thank you for having me, Adi.
It's a pleasure. So it's so many things to say, so many titles. So I'll start. You're a speaker and an author. You work with big companies as Microsoft and Google, where we met, Slack, and you're also an entrepreneur and you're co-founder today of ReShuffle, a new startup.
Exciting startup. Yes.
Exciting. Would you like to start with a few words about what you're doing right now before we dive into innovation and corporate and startups?
Yes. Okay. So I'm a founder of a startup called ReShuffle. What we do is we help developers innovate inside their companies, connect systems. Basically, we have a workflow engine that lets developers connect one system to another system and create workflows and processes that help them be more productive.
Oh, sounds interesting. Sounds like
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. You know, like when we're talking, if somebody watches us not as we're doing it live, we're in the middle of the COVID crisis. And today, like everything changed. And I guess that processes should be faster. Innovation within companies should be faster. And because you're in your career and in your startup, talk about innovation and creating new processes. How do you see the difference between what you've done within a corporate innovation within like Microsoft or Google and what you see in startups that you work with or you invest in?
That's a good question. So let me maybe start with a little bit of intro of what I've done in my career. Will that be good? Okay.
Sure, awesome. Sure.
So I started as an entrepreneur, built 3 startups, crashed 2, sold 1, and then joined Microsoft to work with developers. I'm a one-trick pony. I know how to work with developers. That's probably the only thing I know how to do. So I worked on working with developers on SharePoint and Microsoft. Then joined Google to create developer relations for Israel. And open up campus where we met. So we open up a place where we can work and collaborate and innovate with developers. Then I was asked to move here to the Silicon Valley. So I'm in Palo Alto, California, and to open up innovation centers with Google, like campuses all over the world. So our mission was to connect between startups and Google and to foster this type of innovation. So that was amazing. There was a big investment of a corporate. Then I was asked to join a small startup again. It was called Slack. We had 50 people at the company. 50. So for me, it was 80. For me, it was a very small startup because I moved from 80,000 people.
From Google to 80.
Exactly. And we had 40 developers on our platform. And 2.5 years later, when I left, the company was 2,000. And the entire we had 250,000 developers on our platform. So that was crazy amount of innovation, and it basically feels like your face is like that from the wind.
Really fast
of velocity. Forward. Yes, exactly. And then I was asked by Amazon to be the VP of the developer platform for a company they just acquired called Twitch, which is a streaming platform for gamers and a community.
For gamers.
Yes. And then my interaction was more with companies like EA and Blizzard and Riot and all the game developers. So it's a lot of innovation in how do you create interesting games and how do you innovate in entertainment. So that was pretty interesting. And then I retired to the startup life again with ReShuffle and doing some angel investment as well. So investing in innovation all the time.
Yeah. So it's like you've been with all like a new startup, a growing startup, and a corporate. So you've done it all, right?
Yes, it's been
But
fun.
why? By the way, when I think like Twitch is belongs to Amazon, so you have Google, Amazon, Microsoft, so you're missing Facebook, and you're done. Like you
Yeah,
conquered the world.
I need to take one more box. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
still young, so we'll see.
Yeah, let's see what comes up. So
Exactly.
from these very small groups to a bigger growing groups to a very, very large group of people in corporate, how do people interact differently when they do innovation with these three very different kind of environments?
So I think the when you're a startup, innovation is what you do or you die, right? It's not you can't do anything that is not innovation because everything is new. Getting your paycheck to your employees is a new thing. Uh, Understanding about 401k is a new thing because like doing your insurance is a new thing. So
Yeah,
you're used to like learning new things and doing new things all the time, and the product is of course a new thing because it's untested and you don't know if users will like it. It changes all the time, so there's a lot of aspects of innovation when you do a startup. That's pretty much trivial because it's your life.
right.
um, in corporate there's tension between innovation and non-innovation because corporates understand they already have a working model. They already have
Yeah,
something that they sell. They know how to do it. It's not innovative, but it's working really well. And it's really rare to find something that is working really well. That's what all the
right.
other startups are looking for. Um,
Sure.
so innovation is basically there's a conflict within innovation. You know that you need innovation because if you look historically, all the companies that didn't have innovation died, right? So
Yeah.
when I worked at Google, there was this legend. We had this big dinosaur in the middle of campus, and people asked, "Why is there a dinosaur there?" And they said, "Okay, it's to remind us that we inherit this set of buildings from another company. I think it was Sun, that is
Oh,
no longer there, right?
yeah.
So,
Right.
we need to innovate, or else we'll be somebody would look at this dinosaur and say, where did we inherit this
Yeah.
company from?
Yeah. I think that the lifespan of companies are going down. So it was like in the 60s, it was like 65 years. And now it's about 17 years and expected to be like 10, 15 years really, really soon. And I'm sure that COVID will give this a push and it will be really earlier that companies will die if they don't enhance themselves to the current future, I would say.
Yes, that
Um,
I agree with
and
that.
and I think that it's not only the way that the people innovate. It's like, as I feel it when I work with big companies and small one, is like the energy of people are very, like when you're in a startup, it's like you're on an amusement park, you're on a ride, like going down, up and down all the time. You have no stability, right?
Right,
And everything is more or less unknown, so many uncertainties, right?
right.
But when you're in a corporate, it's like it's more relaxed. You get your payment and you get your salary, whatever you do, right? So it's
Hopefully,
like
yeah.
it seems like you will, and it seems like in a sense, when people are very comfortable, they are less maybe creative or innovative or something like. Does it make sense to you what I'm saying? Or
Yes, I think there's two types of innovation. First of all, yes, at the basic level, innovation comes from need, and if you're fat and comfortable and you don't really want to or need to innovate.
right,
Um, but I've seen innovation come. So yes, if a company is doing really really well, it doesn't think it needs innovation. But what happens if it doesn't invest in innovation? Then when push comes to shove, and when there is a need, you didn't do the work to make your company innovative. One of the mistakes I'm seeing is that you have a company that is not very innovative, and then you say, okay, from now on we're going to be innovative. Bring us your ideas, and
right,
that kind of sucks
right,
because the entire culture of the company is not innovative. So people come with ideas. They're not very good because they don't know how to do innovation. The company doesn't know how to deal with them. and the entire process fails. And then people say, "Oh, innovation doesn't work. Let's move on. Let's do
Yeah.
something else."
Yeah. And sometimes they do have good ideas, but when they are doing all the process and then they have something and there is a beginning of something and they don't get the investment because it's like
Yeah,
it's a big risk for the C level, and they're saying, okay, it might be nice, but we're not going with it. And
100%.
and you see that sometimes it's called the innovation theater because they are saying they're doing all of that and they're not really.
I
That's
participated there. It was a Converse in 2002. Converse is a telco company, very big, used to be very
yeah,
big in
yeah,
Israel, died, I guess, because of lack of innovation.
right.
And that we were asked to pitch about ideas that connect to SMS. Is it okay if I tell this story?
Sure.
Okay, so they said, okay, we have an SMS center. They owned the SMS business, and they said, come up with awesome ideas to make money out of SMS. And I was an engineer at like one of the areas there, and I created this pitch deck, and I had this crazy idea, and I pitched SMS services. So you can say, "What's the weather?" Or you can say, "Buy Amazon stock." Like, to create a bot over this SMS system, so you can consume services through SMS.
Right.
Um, and it was very innovative. It was 2000, right? Very innovative at the time. And they said, sounds like a great idea, and I participated in the show of innovation,
Yeah.
but they didn't fund any of the projects. So it was basically a
Wow.
show.
Any
Yes,
of them. Yeah, I
any of them.
think I heard these like version of that story so many times from people working in big corporate saying like we're doing all these like workshops and it's so much fun, and then it's like if people go and pitch it and then they take it and place it in the drive
Yeah.
and it stays there and that's it.
And once you do that, it's very hard to restore the belief that I would do the same investment and not get the similar results, because we're human beings. We learn by deduction. So
Yeah.
once I pitch and I do all this effort and I don't get any reward, I get incentivized not to do it again.
Yeah, it's like the Dan Ariely's research with the Lego. Do you know it?
Yeah,
Like you need to structure a Lego and then you bring it and you get $100 or something like that. And
exactly.
sometimes they place it on the shelf and sometimes they just break it apart and throw it. And people who they got the same $100, but the ones that their model was broken wouldn't do it again.
Yeah,
So
of course. They broke my Lego. That I would not
yeah.
do it again.
Yeah,
That's
so
makes a
it
lot of
seems like
sense.
yeah, so in when you think about it, it doesn't matter. They still got the incentive, like they got the $100, but people want to feel something that is beneficial and substantial, not just doing things,
Yeah,
to do it.
recognize.
Could you think about what would be the effect of COVID crisis on startups and corporates and on innovation in general?
So I think there's a few aspects of COVID and how it affects innovate in companies, basically. First of all, there's isolation. So I think this people don't think about it, but there is a risk that we're being less innovative because we don't talk to each other as much. I think innovation comes from a lot of communication. It is critical part of innovation. I talk to someone, they mention something, the light bulbs goes up, and I start
Yeah,
thinking about something new, or we get excited about this new idea together. It's much harder to get excited about a new idea by your own, because you do it and then you start doubting yourself and stuff like that. But if what I've seen from my experience, if you have two founders, you're much more likely to succeed than you have one founder. So I think
right,
there's a hit of innovation because we don't interact as much as we used to, and that's the same for startups and for big companies.
right.
In big companies, it's even more risky, I think, because the funding goes down.
Yeah,
So a lot of the money is now spent on core services. We have to sell more of our core product, and innovation seems like not a necessity, so
Yeah, it's like nice to
we'll
have.
drop it. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Last thing that I'm noticing is in the investment term, which is it's very weird for VCs and angel investments to invest in companies that are innovating before without meeting them in person.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Makes
so like
sense.
for me, I did my first angel investment in founders that I've never met for coffee. And for me, that's really weird. And it's not just me. I'm talking to a lot of VCs here, and they feel the same. They do it, but it's very weird to not meet the person that you're gonna give a lot of money to.
And it's because like they can ask question over Zoom, but there is something that is created between people, and sometimes we don't notice it because it's so obvious when we meet people. But when
Yeah,
people create together, there is this kind of energy, and when people
yeah,
meet, there is this kind of what's going
yes,
on between us, which is not
yes.
only the words.
It's not only
um
the words; it's the way you. Yeah, I used to do a lot. I managed 16 people in Google on 4 different continents, and what I thought I coined the name Zoom Happy, because
what
somebody
does
could
that?
be very happy on Zoom, right? I'm interacting with
Yeah.
you and I'm very happy, and then I go off the Zoom and I'm like all down.
Yeah,
So it
it's
was
like
very
me, it's like me without the lipstick.
exact, or me without the lipstick, right?
Yeah, that's
So
for sure.
so I think interaction that is not digital has values and attributes that you can't pass through a digital means. So,
Yeah.
and it comes to innovation. Like when we have a meeting in Zoom or whatever or Google Hangout, and we just have the meeting, we will talk about the meeting. We will definitely not talk about something else. But if we're
Yeah.
meeting in person, on the way to the coffee, on the way out, we have these conversations that seem not very useful, but could be super, super useful, because that's where innovation
Right.
happens. Innovation doesn't
Yeah.
hain in a formal meeting about innovation.
Yeah.
It
Let's
happens.
talk about what's going to be
Let's
like.
talk about innovative ideas. That
Right.
is it's like a pickup line in a bar. It does never
Yeah,
works. So
never.
um
And
so I
and I
think,
think
yeah, but
and I think that when we are meeting people, we see their whole body, and sometimes their faces are saying something, and their hands or their feet. Sometimes they're moving their feet, and then they're maybe nervous. And
yeah,
now, like everybody's not wearing anything, like maybe shorts, so it's like you don't see there anything. Like
yeah,
you
that's
have
true.
less information, and in general, I think that people overestimate the words because they think that if I heard all the sentence and I didn't miss anything, the connection was well, I understood you. But there
Yeah,
is so much information that we don't get, even from the tones and even from the sub expressions of the face, that you get less information because it's not really live, right? So we're not
I
in the same
100% agree.
context, and
Yes.
and but this is like a risk for innovation in startups and in big companies at this
Yes.
time.
It is a
but
big risk.
but when we are thinking about innovation in general, like this is the best time to seize the opportunities because everything is changing. So there are so many open opportunities and so many unmet needs from your clients. It's like that should be the time.
I
But
totally agree.
on
Yes, I
the
totally agree.
other hand, like when you think about it, like people are they're afraid. So can you do something when you don't have the curiosity or trust, or you don't feel safe? It's hard for you to do something outside your outside the box. And I think that you feel it in many, like it's not only in innovation, like doing a big project. You see even thinking differently or doing something differently, very minor adjustments in your work. You see people like, yeah, we do it over Zoom all the time. That's a big enough change for us. We will not do anything else, which is like, I think this is what I feel when I talk to people, like it's like too much for them. This is a very big change. And
Yes.
like
So
the
I totally agree. Yeah. I think there's from one side, there's tons of opportunity. because to
Right.
your point, things change, and when things change, you can innovate in a way that is very, very effective. So if you look at companies that did it really, really well, like if I look at companies that did really, really well, they were either before COVID really suited for a COVID type situation. Like I told you, I one of my portfolio companies, she did inhaler for it's a company called Calmigo, and she did an inhaler for anxiety. And now there's a
Yeah.
lot of anxiety. So for her, it
Yeah.
was amazing. It was innovation
Yeah.
that was waiting for something like this.
Yeah. But that's luck. That's
That's luck.
luck. Yeah.
There's
Although
other.
I told
Yeah,
you that I think that she had the best PR that she could have had this period.
that could be definitely be true.
Yeah.
But if you can pivot, I've heard of a company that was selling disposable like writing pens and stuff like that, and they did a pivot of using the same thing to dispose like hand sanitizers. So they did a very small change, very small innovation in their product. Just instead of doing office supplies, to provide health supplies, and they continue on very successfully. So it doesn't need to be big innovation. When you talk about the fear of change, in my experience, innovation doesn't need to be crazy big ideas. It needs to be a small change that really fits the pain that you're trying to solve.
Yeah. So it could be when you're thinking about the change, many people think about the change in the product, but actually it's the change in what it answers. So the need is
Exactly.
different, and it could be a very big change in the need, but the product is more or less the same. It doesn't have this like big change for I think that I heard something very similar with the vacuum bags from vacuum cleaners, and they use the bags for the inhalers. I think it's the same thing.
I love that idea. Here, I give you another last example.
Sure.
One of the distilleries, so a company that does gin and whiskey here, I think it's gin and vodka here in the Bay Area, has turned and started creating hand sanitizers from their gin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now they're
makes sense.
selling so it's a lot of alcohol. That's what you need to do hand sanitizers.
Yeah.
You just remove all the taste and other things, and you have a perfect hand sanitizer. So
Yeah.
now if you go to Costco, the liquor companies are selling you hand sanitizer. That's corporate
Oh, that's
innovation.
great. And if you could have drank it too, so it will be like two
Double.
double options.
It says do not drink. I think the alcohol content is too high.
So yeah, it makes sense not to drink it. So what would you like if an innovation leader, somebody who's trying to move his company right now, would have come to you? What would you tell him? What would be the most powerful tip that you would have told him like right now?
Focus on the KPIs of the company. Because right now, I think it's more than ever, it's important for innovation not to be like a sideshow. If innovation is a sideshow, it will probably be cut. So when I was a product leader, if I were to come with 5 different crazy ideas on a regular day at Google or at Amazon, people would say, great ideas, let's explore them. I think in COVID, if you come with 10 different ideas, people will tell you, we don't have any time. We really need to focus on X. And X is usually sales, improving productivity, making sure that the business still runs. So if you tie your innovation to the things that are important, that are critical now to the company, this is more than ever important for this stage. You can say, here's 5 ideas on how to cut costs. Probably people will start listening. Or if you say, here's 5 ideas to make our sales go 10x, people will probably listen now. So now, it's a general advice. You should always do that. But now more than ever, connect the innovation process into the KPIs that are interesting for your leadership, because your leadership now is super laser focused on survival. So if you tie into that survival, you'll be successful. And if you don't tie to that survival, you will probably not have a long-lasting career.
Right now. But when
Right
you
now.
think about companies that their clients change and their markets change, it's like trying to hold the horses and they're gonna fly away from you, right? So
Yeah.
it's like companies need to understand what are the points that they need to stick to their core services and products, and what are the points that they need maybe to think, what is another thing that we can create? And maybe it's not here, maybe in a year from now,
Yeah.
they will need to think about that, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's more strategy than innovation. I think it's the key. Innovation is a tool in the tool set of survival through this recession and pandemic. And the key is to look at what has changed. Jeff Bezos calls it the day one mentality. Like it's a chaos. Everything is changing. Nobody knows how to coordinate with another. All the processes are broken. Now let's start building. And his thesis is that this is the most effective way you can run a company, by always having this type of day one mentality. So I think everybody's now forced into day one mentality. All your
They
assumptions
are.
all your assumptions are and you have this chaos. So use that opportunity to build and innovate.
Yeah, what I love in what you say about the day one is the curiosity. When you're in day one, you know that everything is changing. You know, you cannot really handle everything, and you're curious to see, like the first day at your job, like what's gonna be.
Yeah.
And I think that in crisis, many people are either very in the fear side or in the curious side, and they need to think, which side can I take? Like in the beginning, they cannot be other than fearful. But after, like, can we be more like curious about what could be done or not? Not only how can we stick to the current KPIs, to your current system, to your current processes. We're talking about
100%.
processes.
Yep.
So tell me, like, a story of a successful, innovative product that you're proud of.
It's hard to be proud of what you've done, and I've done a few things that I'm like semi proud of. One of them is
why semi? You need to say
always,
fully.
No, because you always you think, oh, yes, I did this, but I could have done it better. You always introspect backwards and say, oh, yeah, if I figured out more of that, if I had a little bit more intelligence and could have figured out that earlier on, I would have saved me a lot of hassle. But let me talk about.
Everybody is smart after they've done something, you know.
I'm extremely good at predicting the past. I'm very, very good at that.
Yeah. So next time I'll ask you.
Yes. Maybe I can talk about campus. That's a early on innovation in my career, and the idea was we were analyzing the Israeli market, and we were thinking, what can we help? How can we facilitate startups and innovation as part of what Google does in Israel? And we did. What I liked about that type of innovation is that we did a very thoughtful analysis. A lot of innovation comes from like, hey, here's a great idea, let's start doing it, without doing validation or market research. And I think I've talked to about 150 people before I even pitched the idea upwards. So we did a lot, me, Professor Yossi Matias, Eyal Miller for Samsung Next. We talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs and more than 100 VCs, like people who are, their job is to put money in innovation, and ask them what is needed in the Israeli market. How can we help? So when we built the product, when we built the campus, our program to engage with startups, we had something that had a very strong product market fit, because it was based on a lot of user research and interviews. So I think I'm kind of proud in that, because that was structured innovation in a way that created a product that was more finely tuned to the need that we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
I'm still, like you said, semi-proud. I'm happy with what I'm doing now in ReShuffle, and I'm proud that I'm creating something from new. Again, the semi comes from, I don't know if it will be successful. It's now showing signs of success, but I don't know if it will be successful. I hope it will be successful.
I hope to. But, you know, if you would have known, like, it's like, you know, the end of the story before you start to read it, it won't be fun.
Yeah.
And another thing, if you would have known, like, it's like the magic that everybody wants, the magic power that everybody wants to know from the beginning what will be like, will it be successful?
Exactly. And if you come back to the campus story, what's interesting, it was facilitated by a corporate mechanism for improving innovation called the 20% project. So when I talked to in Google, at least when I was there, engineers could spend 20% of their time on a certain idea that is innovative. So when I pitched the idea of campus, of this space to engage with startups to my manager, he said, it sounds like probably a bad idea, but you should try it as part of your 20% project. And I did, and it turned to something that was global, and that was a lot of fun. And we created the Launchpad program based on that. So something that starts from enabling innovation in a corporate way turned into something that was very useful to the corporate at the end of the day.
What you're saying about research, like especially in Israel, most people don't research, like it's they have a hunch. They feel that it's the right direction. They ask a few people that they trust and know, maybe people that are very close to them. And then they say, okay, like we're on the right track. So as I see it, like in Israel, most startups that I met and meet and companies, not even startups, they usually try things, and if they fail, it's okay, and they learn from it, and that's it. Like they don't do the analysis in the beginning, right?
Yes, and it's a problem because as technical people, we really like to build stuff, and as technical people, we really don't like to talk to other people. We really like to build stuff. So, and our comfort zone is the opposite of people who are in the Silicon Valley. You see a lot of people liking to talk to people, and only when they finish to do that work do they go and hire people who can build products. I once tweeted that, like, in Israel, people create a time machine and can't build the business around the time machine. And in the US, people sell time machines but don't know how to build time machines yet.
I think you're right, because the business side of like the marketing and sales is so powerful in the valley, and in Israel it's like let's do things, like we are go-getters, let's do the thing and then we'll see if we can sell it, and we'll be very happy when we sell it, but it's not the first thing that we think about. And
that's okay. There's both models have proven successful in different areas, and I think both sides could learn from each other. The technical side could learn from, like, how do I validate so I build the right thing, and I think the other side is like, how can I assess the cost and the technical difficulties of the things that I'm trying to validate. So I think both sides could benefit from each other.
Yeah, of course. It's like the two sides of and it's good. It's like two sides matching each other. And that's why many startups in Israel are at a stage that they are growing. Many of them take like the management, sales, and marketing. They are moving to the States, and then it's like divided. The R&D stays in Israel, and the people who do the business, they go to the US. And many times the clients are in the US. So
that's true.
And that's why they do it. And I think that in general, when you're thinking about the difference between people, like in Israel, for surely when you think about the Europeans, it's like they're doing more and thinking less. And in Europe, they're thinking more and maybe doing less. And it could be like two very like two ends of the same thing. Like I can think a bit more. So if I'm a startup or an Israeli company, I could do a bit more research in order to find it's very like most people want to do research like you've done in Google, like 100 VCs, 100 startups, or 100 clients, potential clients. And sometimes they don't have the resources, but it's not only the resources. Sometimes they don't really think there is like the research and user research and market research and the business aspect and how can we build the business around it. It's like, let's start and then we'll see.
Yeah.
And
that's true. And if you look at this is a discipline that is, if you work at Facebook, at Google, at Amazon, this is a discipline that you have to have. because if you build innovation in a way, or like even anything that you do that is not tied into your customer, will probably fail, because it's like going with a blindfold and trying to hit a dart. And talking to
Oh,
customers is just removing that blindfold, so knowing where
right.
you're throwing that dart, and that's a very big difference.
Yeah. So you're saying that these big companies are focusing more on the research side and not only just trying.
100%. You do a lot
Yeah.
of experimentation, but you have a big, strong marketing research and user research and usability research. There's a guy called Tomer Sharon in New York that used to do user research for search for Google. And he
Yeah.
actually went in different places in the world and asked people what did they search for. Not in
Yeah.
Google, in general, what did they search for? And from
Yeah.
that came a lot of innovation inside search.
Yeah. I think that it's like a big advantage for big companies to understand that they need to focus on the clients, because and they have the connection with the clients in many cases with other products. For them, it's kind of easy. And startups, when they think, it's like they're not sure what is the product, they're not sure what are the end clients, what are the users, and they're trying to find this product market fit while they're going.
Yep.
And in many cases it makes sense, but you need to do some kind of work before you start. So
I
it
don't
really.
think it makes sense at all. Although I think
Mhm.
it is really, really stupid not to talk to your potential customers. And if you say
Right.
everyone, you're wrong. And if you
Right.
say we have five, you're probably going to fail, or like five types, right? Oh, we
Yeah.
serve this type and we do B2C and B2B. That's probably not going to work.
Right.
Choose one and focus on them and interview them. And what we call in Slack, create empathy, like build
Mm.
empathy for that type of client, and then
Sure.
you'll be very successful.
Right. I think that in general, what you're saying, like about empathy, it's so non-tech world. Like it's a very emotional word.
Yeah,
And as someone who comes from design, for me, it's like it's the basics. If you don't have empathy with people, with your clients, with your team, with your suppliers, doesn't matter. If you don't understand that, it's like it's the basics.
I
And
totally agree.
you see many technology people more relating to the solution than what it's trying to solve, and that is like a
Yeah,
problem, and you see it, and it's very important, especially now when we're talking about in this very big crisis, to be empathic to people that you serve, because people need that empathy, people need that understanding from you in order to really see them and give them the answers that they need. Sometimes it could be within your current products or your services, and sometimes it's a new service that you need to maybe a new feature or capability, and sometimes it's like a new type of product that you need to create for them if you want to survive and thrive afterwards.
yes,
um
I can give you an example. At Slack, I used to ask people. So I was responsible for working with developers on the API of Slack. So when I
mhm.
interviewed new people, the only question I asked them is like, play with the API and tell me where it sucks, where it's broken, when it's creating a bad experience. So if you
Mhm.
didn't have the empathy, if you came to me and said, "Oh, I played with the API, it's perfect. It's like you don't need anything else," I would probably not
Yeah.
hire you, because you have zero empathy, because no API is perfect and there's
Yeah.
always pains. So if you don't empathize, if you can't build the empathy towards the customer pain, then you don't fit into my team. So
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer of empathy and understanding your customers.
Yeah, it really makes sense. So we're almost done,
Okay.
and I want to like wrap up. And could you tell us where people could find you if you and you wrote a few books. We didn't talk
Yeah.
about that too.
Oh,
So
we can
maybe
talk about books.
yeah,
So
and
you can find my books on Amazon. Just Google Amir Shevat,
yeah,
and you'll find I created a book. One book, both of them are by O'Reilly. One of them is on how to create conversational interfaces. So how to create bots and um, from voice, from like the Google and from Siri, Google Meet, Google Assistant, all the way to Facebook bots and WhatsApp bots and
yeah,
Slack bots, of course. And the other one was Building APIs That Developer Love. So that's the 2 books. You can find me on Twitter usually. So if you want to hear ideas about product and innovation and my company, I'm A Shevat, ASHEVAT at Twitter.
So we need to maybe reschedule another talk, because we can talk about voice and this is another thing that I'm really into, and doing voice UX and so forth. So maybe next time. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you. I think we could talk longer and longer, but I try to do like max 40 minutes. Like right now it's 40. And I want to thank you for your time. And it was very insightful for me to have someone who has this vast experience from very small to a very big company, and how you see it, and what people could do, and what could leaders learn from you in order to really take innovation to the right direction during this very big crisis. And thank you. And I want to thank everyone for listening and viewing us, and hope to see you again, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. I'm Adima Zorkario, and you've been listening to the Invincible Innovation Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, invincibleinnovation.com, where you can learn more about our programs and my book, Innovating Through Chaos. I'll be waiting for you next week in our next episode. Thank you for listening.